Hey, what's up, Zag Nation? You're listening to the Gonzaga Nation podcast. I'm Cole Forsman, writer for Gonzaga Nation SI, and I'm joined by fellow Gonzaga Nation SI writer, Gonzaga student, and podcast co-host Henry Krueger. Henry, how you doing today?
Doing good. Doing good. Good to be back in Spokane. How about you?
Yeah, I can't complain. First week of school, for those who don't know, is just underway for us at Gonzaga. Um, and yeah, kind of getting back into the swing of things. So, yeah, we'll kind of just play the year out. The Zags, of course, it's a Monday. Um, we'll start kind of with the most recent news in Gonzaga basketball, post or pro Zags, that is. Earlier this afternoon, Rui Hachimura was traded from the Washington Wizards to the LA Lakers for Kendrick Nunn and a handful of second round picks. Rui had sort of been rumored to float around trade talks over the last few hours, but Henry, you actually wrote an article about it for Gonzaga Nation SI. What do you sort of think of the trade? And where do you kind of see Rui fitting in and where he's at?
Yeah. I mean, reports kind of started about, rumblings kind of came out about the trade. I think it was last Wednesday. And the Wizards are out of the playoff race at this point. There were kind of multiple guys that seemed like on the trading block. Rui was one of them. And so I think this is more a move about the Wizards freeing up cap space, and then also they kind of had a logjam at the forward position. And so I think sending Rui to the Lakers is going to be a great opportunity for him, just because he gets to compete on a team that at least aspires to make the playoffs. We'll see, if the Lakers actually make it there. Um, but they aspire to be that way. So I think it's going to be a good situation for Rui. I don't think he was getting as many minutes as he could on a team like the Wizards, just because they had so many guys at the forward position, including kind of a wing, Corey Kispert, another former Zag, there as well. So I mean, I think it's at least from the Wizards' perspective and from Rui's perspective, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I think for the Lakers, we don't talk a whole lot about NBA, but just really quick, the Lakers, you mentioned trying to be a playoff contender. I think if make a couple more moves, but Rui's a nice addition. We kind of seen how they've developed Lonnie Walker, another younger player who needed to find a new home to truly reach his potential, or at least see it that way. And so Rui, especially as a shooter for him, he averages a little over 2 attempts a game, shoots around 30%. It's there. It might be there. It could develop. And especially for him, he's already a plus defender, I think you'd say. Nothing outstanding, but when he was on the Wizards, he would often handle, the best ball handler, or just the best player in general. And I think that's good for the Lakers, with their needs. LeBron, who is an exceptional playmaker as well, that can maybe help Rui out in that department. But yeah, we had heard, obviously Rui, last year he missed some time for personal reasons. So it's just good to kind of see him back playing again, and hopefully in a situation where he's utilized more.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, I think the Lakers are looking for someone who can be like Rui, who can be, that 3-and-D type of wing. He can shoot the ball. His frame at least gives him the potential to play defense, 6'8", like 230, 240. I mean, he definitely has that frame and that build to, play that kind of role that playoff teams really covet. And he's a restricted free agent this summer. And so I think that he is going to have an opportunity to get a bag either from the Lakers or elsewhere. Also, I saw your lights just go out. Is everything good over there?
It's fine. I guess I'm in a room of motion sensor.
Got you.
Technical difficulties aside.
Gonna have to wave every 5 minutes.
Hopefully not. You can still hear my voice though. And yeah, to your point, I think it's what the Lakers need. For the Wizards, I don't, they're, you kind of talked about maybe they see their window with those picks later down the road, but it kind of just seems like they needed to
think they also want the money to re-sign Kuzma and Porzingis, who if they choose to exercise their player options, they'll stay there automatically. But if they choose to not, to opt out of that, then the Wizards will probably chase at least Kuzma in free agency, because he's someone who's really blossomed into a star this year. Porzingis had a good season too, so I think ultimately, like you said, it's a good situation for all involved.
Yeah, no, of course. So we'll keep an eye on Rui, continue to follow Gonzaga Nation as me and Henry kind of take a closer look more at how Zags and the pros are doing, including Andrew Nemhard. Domantas Sabonis has had a great run, of course, so stay tuned for that. But back to the current Zags here in Spokane. Today as well, the AP poll just released, like it does as always on Mondays. Zags dropped 8 spots to number 14. I think we all know why, and I don't even think I need to allude to why. But it was also an upset-filled weekend as well. So a lot of movement around the polls. The Zags, we know what happened Thursday. They came back on Saturday. It still wasn't sure if that was the performance they were looking for on both ends of the floor, but they pulled out with a win. Yeah, Henry, I just, we haven't talked since conference play started, so I don't know since the new year, how have the Zags, what's gone good, what's gone bad? Just kind of let's dig in a little bit.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
week.
I think one theme that's really emerged is like when a team can stop Drew Timme, Gonzaga's offensive and scoring production just seems to dry up. I mean, you saw it at points during the LMU game where they had it, and then kind of like I think Drew Timme only had like 3 or some very small amount of points, at least like midway through the second half. And then he kind of had a run where I think he scored 12 of 14 points for the Zags in a row. And so that was, a big deal for him there. But overall in the night, slower performance from him. He wasn't able to get, find a rhythm early on. But I do think, against Pacific, he got going early on, and he went to work early in the post, found success. I think he had 14 first half points. So I think that's really like the difference maker here is just whether the Zags can kind of get Timme involved or not, because it doesn't seem like they have that consistent option besides, Timme.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Timme put up 38 on Saturday against Pacific. Yeah, he's been the lifeblood of he's been the source of offense, especially in these closer games where just relying on a basket, you need a bucket. Of course, go to your best player. There's nothing wrong with that, and that's how it should be. But to your point, yeah, it does feel like sometimes the slow starts. It's almost like you're waiting for it to click. You're waiting for a snap of the finger, and you're waiting for the offense to sort of come alive. And it just hasn't. But still, to the point, I mean, the offense is still the best scoring offense in the country, and leads the league in field goal percentage, or leads the country, sorry, in field goal percentage as well. They've even cut down on turnovers, but yet I think, sometimes the offense maybe might bog down due to lack of explosive plays. I don't know if that's something you've noticed. It's noticeable in their tempo, right? Like it just doesn't feel as fast.
Yeah, and well, I also feel like it doesn't help, and it puts a lot of pressure on their offense with the fact that their defense is not elite, especially right now. Few talked about that after both games. He did say there was one good run, and I totally agree. At the start of the second half, against Pacific, where I think they held them scoreless for like 5 or 6 minutes at least, or something like that, and went on like an unanswered run there. That was a great defensive stand, but other than that, I think they've had issues. I mean, they let Pacific score 90 points, right? Yeah. I mean, the number 6 team in the country at the time let an unranked team score 90 points. Doesn't matter if you score 99 points. I mean, yes, you're going to win, but you're putting a lot of pressure on. I mean, Drew Timme had to score 38 just for them to get to 99 and then only win by 9 points. So I think that's really important to consider. And yeah, going back to what I said about the second option thing, I mean, Strother 1 for 8 against LMU. I mean, there's performances like that they just can't have when Timmy has an off night. So they got lucky, I think, and that Timmy had a good night against Pacific.
Yeah, for sure. To put in perspective, yeah, Pacific's offense is ranked 154th by Ken Pump's metrics, 59th tempo wise. Yeah, to your point, the defense. You know, we were both there for the LMU one, the LMU game last Thursday, and Nolan Hickman had brought up energy and intensity. He kind of alluded to the fact that you know, sometimes the Zags just aren't they aren't up and ready for it. And it kind of takes another spark to get up for these some WCC games, but and I think that kind of shows in a little bit of the rebounding as well, because we've seen that was it always hasn't been a strong suit of the Zags this year, despite having probably three guys who could get maybe even four double. So I
Yeah,
think, you know, it might come down to a little bit of an effort thing. And I think the stretch that you had alluded to versus Pacific there's the intensity that we wanted to see. And it just needs
yeah.
to be for all, you know, 40 minutes of a ball game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, and that was exactly what Few. I was watching the interview video on the Spokesman Reviews website of Few because it was a away game. A Few talking after the Pacific game, and he was saying that during that stand they were locked in, they were energized, they were dialed in, and that was the difference, and that made a difference. And I think in some ways that also translates offensively. Their offense has gotten off to slow starts in a few of these WCC games, and so I think just coming out of the gate more energized, because every team that plays them is going to give them their best game if they can, you know, if they can have it, you know, go the way they want it to. And so I think, yeah, I think Gonzaga just has to keep that in mind, and just understand that when they come out, the team's going to be physical. LMU was extremely physical, especially with Timmy and Watson. And so I think, you know, they just come out ready to play.
Right, right. And yeah, these teams are going to give the Zags their best shot. It's been, you know, known for a while. Yeah, and just back to the offense really quick. I got to bring up the free throw shooting. It's been questionable these last few games, but I think, you know, again, that's just something comes along. I know Drew Timmy, he's vocally said that he wants to make a conservative effort to make more free throws. So yeah, but the offense still moves the ball pretty well. They share the ball well, you know. I don't think it's hard to find a moment where it's like they just, you know, they're not moving, they're not, you know, sharing it. It's a bunch of isolation, and it's none of that, which is great to see as they head into the next WCC matchup, which is this Saturday away at Portland. We saw the Zags beat down the Pilots by 40 in the last meeting. They almost tied the record for 3-pointers made in the McCarthy Athletic Center with 17. The best offensive showing against the Division I team that the Zags have had, probably, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not...
Yeah. I can't expect the same going into Saturday, but do you have any thoughts on Portland and what they might be doing differently, or what might the Zags might have to face?
Yeah, I mean, because, you know, in the last game we saw them play Portland, it was a pretty convincing win. It was one of the only convincing wins that we've kind of seen this season, except for Pepperdine, and a few other matchups they've had. And so I think that it's really the same game plan. You know, get the ball to Timmy. I think, you know, when Timmy was going off against Portland, I think there were moments where, and Anton Watson talked about it after the game, he wasn't really sure what they were doing defensively to stop him. They kind of looked helpless, and that's kind of what it felt like. And the rest of the Zags got going. Yeah, so I'm pretty excited for the matchup. I think it's going to be a good way for the Zags to notch a pretty convincing victory, especially after their last few have been pretty close or losses.
Yeah, in that game, it was actually very well balanced. Malachi had 27 off the bench, right? Because he went off from deep. Was it 5 other Zags scored in double figures? So, but to your point, I mean, Timmy
starters came out early, also, you know, so keep that in mind too. It's like,
Yeah, I mean Timmy
They
7
got
for
to rest
10.
guys. Hmm.
So you could figure a couple more shot attempts, good more looks for him in a closer ball game, like you mentioned. But yeah, Portland, they're not afraid to shoot. Tyler Robertson, sorry, is a scorer. Um, Moses Wood,
They did a pretty
another.
good job on him last game, I will say.
They did,
Um,
they
yeah,
did.
I think it was like 3 for 8. Didn't score a ton. They had other guys who went off, but I think at least it showed that when they really want to focus on something defensively, they can get it done. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll just kind of have to see how the Zags fare against Portland on Saturday. That game tips off, I believe, at 4 p.m. 4 p.m. KHQ 6 if you're in Spokane or route otherwise. But yeah, we'll be the Zags looking for back-to-back wins and their 18th win on the season overall, trying to go 7-1 in conference play. As St. Mary's undefeated at the top, still very high in the net rankings and KenPom rankings as well. But yeah, that's gonna. You got anything else?
oh, sorry, I wasn't
I
sure.
was no,
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
looking at
I'm in.
something else and
Yeah,
like
you're
I
all
didn't
good.
know where you were.
No, you're good.
Okay,
Yeah, you can wrap it up. Sorry,
no, you're good.
if
Okay.
you wanted to.
Yeah, we'll see how the Zags fare next time. That is going to do it for this episode of the Gonzaga Nation podcast. Once again, I'm Cole Forsman, Henry Krueger. Nice talking to you. We will catch you all next time and listen to the Gonzaga Nation podcast wherever you get your podcasts at. Where's the end recording?